Okay, so you're not too much. You're not too emotional, too sensitive, too intense, too needy, too expressive, too anything. What you are is probably tired, and there's a difference. Somewhere along the way, you're too much became the go to phrase used on people who are doing the work of five adults with the emotional resources of one human nervous system. And instead of questioning the workload, we question the individual. That's like watching someone carry seven grocery bags, a toddler, and an emotional support backpack up three flights of stairs and saying, wow, you're really dramatic about these steps. No, the stairs are fine. The load is what's unhinged. So let's be honest about what too much usually means. It doesn't mean that you are excessive. It means that you're aware. It means you notice things, you feel things, you think about impact, and you anticipate consequences. You remember birthdays, you notice tone shifts, unresolved conversations, and the fact that someone said, I'm fine, in a way that was legitimately not fine, that's not you being too much. That's carrying weight. You're carrying other people's emotions. You're carrying the responsibilities of keeping the peace. You're carrying conversations that never happened, but somehow still live in your body. You're carrying the role of the strong one, which is a scam, by the way, because the strong one never gets picked up. And then someone looks at you overstimulated, overextended, one minor inconvenience away from a downpour of tears and say, you might be a little too much for me. Well, sir or ma'am, distinguished guest, I'm responding appropriately to the workload that's been forced upon me. Here's how this usually plays out: you express a need, not dramatically, not loudly. You say something reasonable like, look, I'm a little overwhelmed right now. And instead of curiosity, you get feedback, notes, suggestions, a vibe. Suddenly, you're managing their discomfort with your honesty. Now you're not just overwhelmed, but you're apologizing for it. You start shrinking your language. You preface everything with, I don't want to be a burden, but, which is wild because needing support is not a crime. And over time, you start to internalize the idea that the problem is you, your feelings, your needs, your reactions, rather than the fact that you're holding together systems and relationships and emotional ecosystems with zero backup or help or partnership. Let's talk about what carrying too much for a moment really means. Carrying too much looks like being the planner, the checker in, the conflict repairer, the emotional translator, and the one who understands where everyone's coming from. It looks like being the one who has to adapt, always adapts, even when it's at a cost of your emotions, your feelings, your physical well being, your mental well being. It looks like having empathy so strong that you end up emotionally adopting adults who should be fully licensed to self regulate. And your nervous system is now exhausted and overextended and overwhelmed because it never gets to stand down. It's always on alert, always scanning, always bracing. So when you finally react, when you cry, or when you crash out, shut down, or need a little space, people act like they're shocked. Like, where's all of this coming from? The weight. It's coming from all of the weight that you're carrying. So, no, you're not too much. You're just carrying more than one person was meant to carry. So, let's see if we can reframe it. If you put down half of what you're holding, you wouldn't be less, you'd be regulated. You'd be yourself. You'd be spacious. You'd be able to breathe without having to narrate or explain or justify it. The goal is not to become smaller, the goal is to become supported, because the people who benefit from you carrying everything will always have opinions about what happens when you decide to put it all down. Suddenly, you're acting different. Suddenly, you're harder to reach. Suddenly, you've changed. No, what you've done is redistributed the load. You gave back to them what they tried to force upon you. And here's the truth that no one's going to tell you: the right people don't experience your needs as a burden. They experience them as information, much needed information. They don't say, "You're too much." They say, "What do you need?" They don't flinch at your honesty, they simply adjust to it. So if you've been told that you're too much, I want you to pause and ask a better question. Am I actually excessive, or am I just not being supported? Because carrying too much will make anyone seem as if they are intense. You don't need to quiet yourself. You don't need to dull your feelings. You don't need to become easier to manage. You need less weight. And when you finally put some of it down, you won't be too much anymore. You'll just be human. And that was never the problem.
And twist myself at the spine.